Today, we're looking at a black ink by Blackstone Black Stump. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around to the part you're most interested in. Or, if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You could also follow me on Instagram, and if you like fountain pen ink reviews, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Duke 209 with a Fude nib. I used it for a day, and then I used it to take the notes for this video. In order to have some standardization while looking at writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper, although there are additional writing samples that occur much later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine, although it looks slightly lighter on camera, it's just thinner lines. It's the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 14 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 22 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're not getting any. Tomoe River, with no bleeding and normal ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 22 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 36 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation. We don't have any. And Rhodia with no bleeding or ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 16 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 25 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're still not getting any. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And while I thought this was just a black, it's really a mix that's really making this so dark. There's blue across the bottom that we do see makes a line and pushes its way up. Now that is a very dark black at the top. And then we get this red line across the top of it, which is very interesting. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And it does not move nearly as much up the page. The blue line on the bottom is a bit darker, but the blue all the way on the bottom is much darker all the way across, meaning it's bonding with the paper as it's moving up, and we still see that red popping out at the top of this filter paper. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not use this in a note-taking situation because it completely blew out and I don't want to lose important notes. Now, water is lifting all those dark tones, but really leaving the blue in place that we saw in the chromatographies. The same with pen flush. It's not doing much more. I did have to use pen flush to get this completely out of my pen, but I didn't have to work hard at it. I just needed to use a little bit of the flush. The 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the paper, but it does discolor the paper just a little bit. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Now I'm going to link the video that shows how I do my testing and calculations. Blackstone's Black Stump has a viscosity of 2.09, making it just a little bit wetter than normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Blackstone's Black Stump has an average dry time of 23 seconds. So while it is a little wetter than normal, it takes a little bit longer than normal to dry. Instead of finding inks that look like Blackstone's Black Stump, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. So I went for a nice blue because of the blue in the chromatography. I chose Diamine's Steel Blue. The second writing sample is done on Viscosity black and red and Franklin-Christoph paper. Now we're looking at Viscosity notebooks. We get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 15 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're not getting any. Black and red notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 10 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both are showing us no color variation, and we don't get any. And Franklin-Christoph paper with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 7 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we don't get any. And that is all that I have for the writing samples. So what do I think of Blackstone's Black Stump? Its chromatography makes me feel like this might be a blue-black that reads as an entirely black ink. That aside, it does put down a very nice solid black ink with every pen all the time. It's a solid performer. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? It always puts down that very solid line. It is such a consistent performer that you can ink up your favorite pen without any worry that you're going to get an unusual performance. Dealer's choice. I put out a new ink review every single day so that if you're not already subscribed, I'm going to remind you, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.